Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we stop talking to the film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull 1 minute at a time. I am Tom Taylor.
I can never keep up. I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Gerald Christopher. Don't ghost me, Porter.
Oh, I'm Deb Helt.
Hey,
Hello, Deb. Welcome
Hi.
back.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again to help peel the brain that is Indiana Jones's, peel the onion that is his brain. Never mind. You know what? Thanks for coming back. We like you. It's good talking to you.
Thank you.
And you have a very particular set of expertise, a very particular skill set for this minute that'll be up.
That's
helpful,
right.
I think.
Yes, I'm here to marriage and family therapize Indiana Jones.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
I think Jer mentioned being in therapy. Pete, have you ever been in therapy?
Yes.
Okay.
Briefly.
Yeah, me too. I was finally cured the last time, so I'm good now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You
Good work.
Yeah.
You broke it off before your session.
Yeah, it was. I didn't want to hurt her. So I'm cured. This is good. This is all a preamble to minute 74. This is the minute where Marion is telling Indy that he didn't get a vote in who she married, and it ends with her getting tied up and gagged as she's still yelling at him.
So I'm going to leave off discussing the idea of having a vote and who's appropriate to have a vote and when you get married, because I know a lot of cultures that you don't have a choice. But
That's true.
for Indy here, I feel like this line bothers me because I feel like Indy has infantilized her in several of these movies and in this movie. You know, like in the beginning when she was a child, and in this one he calls her Abner's little girl. And here she is saying he has a vote on who she gets to marry. And I feel like this is really icky. Like, I don't like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it couldn't have been this Colin guy because he was Indy's buddy, apparently, or at least he introduced them. And yeah, somehow that means that he's supposed to get a vote.
Well, okay. I think we're just catching Indy in an emotional moment here. And so I'm going to give him a little bit of a coupon, you know, where he's he's like Colin Williams. Like he's just, give him a long weekend, to sleep on it. He'll probably come back with a little bit more understanding.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Maybe after they have an adventure, drive through the jungle some more.
Sure.
Meet some aliens. Maybe then he'll calm down a little bit. We'll see.
I do say that I feel like Marion is extraordinary because I feel like she went from being, when he met her, she was a girl. And I feel like for her to grow up into such a strong, self-assured, confident, powerful woman, I think is pretty extraordinary. Like, I think she's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, we said the Mutt and Marion watches were beautiful blue skies and golden sunshine all along the way, and they still are in this minute. I think I like this minute even more than the last minute. But my appreciation is increasing. That's exciting. It's because this is Marion. This is the Marion we know. She's not taking any guff from this Indiana Jones character. She's furious at him. She's letting him have it. This whole minute works really well for me, except for one point. There's one line in this minute that almost makes it all.
I know what it is.
That might be the line I would utter. Oh, for love of God, shut the hell up!
I don't even mind that one. That's not the one.
No, I know the one you're talking about.
That's me though in this minute.
That's you in this minute, Tommy. You're talking about the one sort of bizarre. Yeah, let's not argue in front of the kid.
Which is the line written is not horrible. It could have been like a nice, funny, sarcastic thing, but he delivers it like he's in Leave It to Beaver and he's waiting for the canned laughter to cue in.
No, it's really strange. I'm with
It's
you.
really
I knew
strange.
It. I knew it.
And
It
it's
does- it
also
doesn't-
coming off of like my favorite part of the minute where Marion is like, didn't you ever wonder why Oxley stopped talking to you? Because he's furious at you for taking off and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I'm loving all this stuff. And then like that scene, that line immediately comes up and it ruins it. Doesn't ruin it, but that line is awful.
it's a weird. You're like, oh, so now Indy like accepts, and not only he wants Mutt to be his kid. Like he's leaning into it. He's hugging the fact that not in front of the kid. We shouldn't do that. And you're
Well,
like,
I've got a question about that line though. Like, as a kid who witnessed scenes not unlike this, Deb, is it appropriate advice for parents not to argue in front of the kids? Like, as a kid, it kind of scarred me, and I'm wondering, is it better to hide arguing in front of kids, or is it better to do it in the open?
Well, I think there's a difference between yelling at each other, which can kind of like cause a little kid's nervous system to like shoot cortisol, and it can actually be really traumatic, versus showing a kid that people can disagree or be in conflict and then recover.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. That's just how I would put it. But
okay, that's good.
Or they can, disagree, run away from the wedding, and then 20 years later come back and work things out in the back of a Russian truck.
I'm sure it'll go really well.
Yeah.
well, okay, so Deb, after the greatest movie ever and one of the best endings, where you have, Indy and Marion, at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Tommy, what'd you say? Is like, well, I know what I've got here.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is fantastic. Where is there room for Indy to be like, oh, come on, Marion, I think we both knew it wasn't going to work.
Right. And she's aghast. She doesn't buy that. She's like, I didn't know that. I didn't know it wasn't going to work. Why didn't you talk to me?
So what is the story behind that?
You mean like how could they recover? What do you mean?
Do you believe that, or do you think that that's just like a smokescreen that Indy's throwing up? He's like, do you think Indy really didn't believe it was going to work, or is that just Indiana Jones tree chopping tactics where he just damages every relationship? He's just like he's saying,
yeah.
Yeah, he's just
both.
saying,
he's like, yeah, it wasn't going to work because I can't get married. I'm not the Marion kind or whatever. He was
I can't be responsible.
Yeah, I can't be responsible. I can't, just be true to somebody and be around for another human being and stuff. Forget it. This isn't going to work. And he says, I didn't want to hurt you, which I do think is kind of sincere. I think he knew that he wasn't the guy for her, or at least wasn't the guy for her then or something. Like he would have, if he didn't leave before she was waiting at the altar, he would have left a year later or something.
Well, I have a very therapist response to this, which is that, well, it's like there's not being right for each other, and then there's like having major barriers to your capacity to show up for intimacy, right? So
yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with like attachment styles or that stuff, where it's like the idea that your how you bond with your important caregivers has an impact on how you bond with your intimate partners when you're an adult. So like,
yeah, I know.
It doesn't mean you're screwed. It just means you might have some things to work through, right? So like a person, I would say he has avoidant attachment, which is like where when people get closer and closer to him, he starts to criticize them, freak out about losing his independence, not have faith in his own ability to like solve problems. Hence the like, I just bailed and didn't talk to you because I didn't want to hurt your feelings, even though this is like a very important varsity conversation we needed to have.
Yeah.
But like,
wait, did you call it a varsity conversation?
Yeah.
That's but it's awesome.
That's just my own terminology of kindergarten versus varsity. Cause sometimes it's like, when you're all fired up or you're emotional, you can like barely explain what's happening for you. And then I think varsity is like like when you're really navigating something difficult, holding a lot of complexity and like dealing with it like a champion, that's like Varsity to me.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, that's
amazing.
amazing.
It's like your senior year.
Yeah. So I think he has avoidant attachment, which is common in people that have childhood emotional neglect. And so I wrote down a couple traits of that. You fend for yourself, you hide your vulnerability, you're bad at emotional intimacy and need a lot of me time. You have extreme boundaries, like, for example, hopping out of a window and running away from your students rather than you're independent, you're self-focused, and you find faults with others as an excuse to run away. So what do you think about that?
Wow.
I thank you for you're insulting me over and over and over.
So I think he could be different in this relationship, and I think she's cool. So I hope they work it out personally. But
yeah.
End of speech. Sorry.
No, that was great. I love it. You find fault with others. I like that because you have well. So Indy says something that actually resonated for me. He says, because we never had an argument, I won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I have found myself sort of feeling like Indy there, and I wanted to look at that. Is that?
No, you haven't, Jerry.
Moving on.
Like, Deb, is that something that sounds very kindergarten-y? You don't. It's not.
Yeah,
Varsity.
right.
You don't get into an argument so that you can win, but that could be a clumsy way of Indy saying, I never had a voice. No one ever listened to what I was actually saying.
Or I couldn't figure out how to say what I was feeling. So I just felt rolled over and vulnerable and weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I think it's I love that you said that because I don't know exactly, obviously, but it is a point of deep curiosity, right? Like, what does that mean? We never had an argument. I won. Are you only comfortable when you are, because he could certainly like throw a lady over his shoulder and like run away from bullets, but like maybe he couldn't hang in this Varsity conversation and he felt really dumb or overwhelmed and he had to get out of there. I don't know. Any thoughts?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, yeah.
No, I love that. And you were saying in the last episode about people have different skill levels and different aptitudes for different things. And you can see he's got strong aptitudes for certain things, but when it comes to this interpersonal stuff, he's kind of at sea.
He might have a lot of anxiety. Like he might.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm struggling with wanting to see him as, to be angry with him. Like, oh, you I don't know. He knew it wasn't going to work. And he obviously handled it horribly by just leaving and apparently not talking to her about it at all. Just literally ditching. But there's part of me that wants to admire him for being like, I know I'm going to hurt Marion if I stay. And I don't know how to talk to her about it. My guts are in my throat right now. I'm so anxious. I just got to get out of here. I just got to go punch a Nazi somewhere. I think I don't know. I don't want to say I understand him, but that makes sense to me that like his only thing to do would just be to ditch, even though it's obviously going to hurt her more. I'm not defending that. I'm just saying there's the kernel of like Indy totally understood the situation and he did the best he could.
Yeah, like maybe he was ready to fight Nazis, but he wasn't ready to be in a committed, mature adult relationship.
Yeah. And even if the only way to save that is to leave her and break her heart again, like that's like the best he can do.
Well, okay, but hold up.
Yeah, maybe he didn't have the skills. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, if you say the best you can do is bail a week before the wedding.
Yeah.
That sounds like, you get an F.
He has some growing edges,
totally
as we would say.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he could have hurt her more. Like he says he didn't want to hurt her, so he did the most hurtful thing he could. Like I don't know what he would have done that would have been
Well,
more
he
hurtful.
there could have like, how about maybe before the wedding, they start planning the wedding, and he says, you know what?
Yeah.
Look, I have some Nazis I need to go punch.
Right.
And before we start planning all this stuff, I mean, look, I understand life throws knuckleballs at you. So I get it. You got to get, you can't just, people make mistakes or they don't know how to communicate their thoughts for sure. But what I don't understand is, did he just leave Marion because he's just this Lothario? Is that
I don't
it?
think it was that. No, I don't. I think that he. I don't know. He just knew that he wasn't going to be able to settle down. I don't think settling down just means like, oh, no, I got to go sleep around. I'm not, finished sowing my wild oats. But I feel like I don't know, like he just knew for whatever reason he wasn't going to be a good husband. That he was always that she was not going to come first. That, he was going to be distracted. That he was going to be doing other stuff. I don't know. I don't know what got him so antsy.
See, I think is this might be a little too vulnerable, but I think for somebody who has grown up with attachment, lacking of some attachments, like when you are faced with suddenly making big commitments to attachment, it can be really easy to want to self-sabotage that. Like it can be really easy to say, I don't know how to, like, this is making me super vulnerable and this is taking me to a place that I don't know how to deal with.
Yeah. Especially if it is like a week before the wedding. I can imagine somebody, I mean, you hear about that, like people like, breaking up like a week before the wedding, and it's got to be impossibly hard to make that decision. Like, oh, do I just go through with it? It's so close. The invitations have gone out. Everybody's lining up at the church. Oh my God. Do I do that? Do I just ruin everything? Or do I ruin everything by going through with it and it's not the right thing to do?
I think it really does speak to this. I know when I was younger, if I felt rejected, I'd just be like, I guess I'm rejected. I'm no good, right? But there can be more complexity to it sometimes, where there can be like a lot of areas of overlap. But like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes you really can love someone but be unable to show up for the relationship. And I think when you read about attachment theory, there's something soothing about it, because sometimes it really is more complicated than just a yes or no, or
What you're saying, it's the old, no, it's not you, it's me.
Right.
Sometimes it really is them. Sometimes,
No, for sure.
Because Marion's pretty awesome, So.
She is.
Yeah.
Well, so going line by line, then, Indy says, because I know, we never had an argument, I won. And then she says, it's not my fault if you can't keep up, which she's not listening to what he said. B, I don't know what that line means. If you can't keep up in the repartee of arguing.
See, given what we've just been talking about, I think that means don't blame me if you can't keep up, meaning you can't have a varsity conversation about something. Like I win the arguments because I'm actually trying to have a conversation. You're just yelling at me. Don't blame me if you can't just sit down and talk about what's going on in your noggin.
But then when Indy then says, I didn't want to hurt you, which is kind of like a generic escape hatch.
Yeah, yeah.
You go, I don't even, that's actually, I don't think that's a very good line.
I like it for what it is.
I feel like it's a real line.
It is a real line.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, that's the thing. If it is, then you're like, wow, Indiana Jones does suck at this.
Yes, I kind of like its simplicity, because I don't know. To me, it does kind of fit. Of like, maybe he speaks in emotions with very blunt edges because he's kindergarten at emotions. Yeah. He's like varsity at fighting and kindergarten at emotions.
And I feel like one of the things I like about it is, I mean, as a human being, you don't always see your own motivations. You don't always understand what's causing you to feel a certain way. And I like that he's confused here. And that
Well, it's a little murky. That's the thing. I didn't understand. She's like, it's not my fault if you can't keep up. And he's like, I didn't want to hurt you. And you're like, what does that have to do about keeping up in their toe-to-toe arguments?
Yeah, I don't even know if his... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say she might have just said that because her feelings are hurt too. Like, it's not my fault. You're weak sauce.
Yeah. And I think Indy, on the heels of that, Indy's I didn't want to hurt you is just like, I'm losing this argument too. I'm just going to blurt out the only truth I kind of know out of the whole situation that I fully understand is that I really didn't want to hurt Marion Ravenwood, but I don't know what the hell to do.
Well, that's well said.
Is if it's a truth.
We-
Well, I mean,
I'm scared.
is it he doesn't want to hurt Marion or he didn't want to hurt Indy?
Oh,
Well, yeah. That's well said too, Peter.
yeah.
Thank you.
Burn.
People are complicated.
Well, then, okay. So, Tommy, one of your favorite parts here, when Marion says, "Didn't you ever wonder why Ox stopped talking to you?" And it makes me think, wow, so Ox ghosted Indy.
Yeah. And that's a
Which-
little weird too when you think about it. Because
it is
you're like,
a little
okay,
weird.
I kind of love just like the kind of raw anger there. And I love hearing about Oxley as a person and their whole history. I like all that is packed in that line. But it is, when you think about it, you're like, oh wait, so Oxley, who's an upstanding guy and he wears a tie later on and stuff. Like, does he didn't like reach out to Indy and say, by the way, you have a kid, or Indy, what are you doing? Or anything like that. Like he didn't try to, bring his friend in from the cold or something and talk some reasoning to him or
Well,
anything.
maybe that says something about the level of closeness of his male friendships.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he ain't called Ox for nothing.
Right.
Or
Marion should have called Sala and told him what went on, and then Sala would have gotten to the bottom of that right quick.
There you go.
But it
You'd
also
have
makes
Vinny
me
in
wonder.
a bear hug, yelling at him at the same time.
Well, okay, this drives me nuts. Deb, why do all these people suck at communication? Like, okay, Ox can't pull his friend aside and say, "Hey, listen, look, I wrote you 3 times. I called you. I didn't hear back from you. Where are you? I know you left. Marion's really upset here." And then apparently Indy did reply to Ox. She's like, "Don't you wonder why Ox stopped talking to you?" And you're like, "Well, why didn't Ox?" It's not. We don't know.
I feel like for 1938, for one man to stop talking to another man because he left a woman is fairly extraordinary. So I feel like maybe we're not getting the whole story here about what Indy did to him.
That's fascinating. He doesn't strike me as somebody who would do that. He seems
Who would
warmer.
just cut off Indy like that?
Yeah, and all of them suck.
Yeah.
Indy sucks at communication. I don't know. I'd maybe give. I don't know. Marion might be a B-. I mean, I think she's way better than Indy, but she probably has stuff she needs to work on too.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting is she said you broke it off a week before, meaning it sounds like he did have some conversation with Marion.
I had the exact same thought. Like breaking
Yes.
it off sounds like, hey, this isn't working. I'm going. And not
Yes.
just like, where the hell's
Not
Indy?
just not just one day he's gone. He's
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder if she literally, I wonder if we're just reading too much into that and he really did just take off without a word. Because it seems like if they had any conversation, well, I don't know. You could still, it could be a very short conversation.
I know somebody that actually happened to.
Oh, wow.
Similar to this. Yeah. In real life. And it was absolutely horrible, as you'd imagine. There's the sort of thing that you'd say, no, don't ever do that. Don't do that, Indy. Don't ever do that.
Yeah.
So does Belloc have the highest emotional intelligence of anybody in these movies? Is he the best communicator?
He might be. He gets close to people.
Oh my gosh, I don't know which character that is. I'm sorry.
Oh, and Raiders, the first one, a good one.
Oh,
he's the main adversary. Yeah,
I recommend seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a really, really good movie.
Totally, I'm excited.
Like it.
Well, so who of the characters in the movies that you enjoy and have watched? I know you've seen all of them, but the ones in more recent memory, who does have the highest emotional IQ? Deb.
Oh shoot, what a good question. Well, I know Marion made that low blow in this in this minute, but I relate. It seems like she experienced a trauma of being abandoned right before her wedding, and she picked it up and met someone else and moved on with her life. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good answer. I'm trying to think of who has the best emotional intelligence, huh? Do you guys have any ideas? I'm trying to think.
Oh, for me, it's Katanga. I love Katanga. Maybe Sala.
Sala is just an open heart. He's just capacious and loving, and he just loves everybody. And yeah, I think, I don't know. Does that mean that he's more in touch with his feelings, or does it just mean he's deliriously happy all the time? I don't know.
You know what I like? One thing I like about Satipo is he's not afraid to say what what bothers him. And when he's very interesting, when Indy doesn't listen to him nor pay attention, he says, "Senor, no one comes out of there alive," and Indy goes in there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Then he finds self-empowerment. And he he turns against Indy and says, "This is not working for me."
Boundaries.
Going a different way. Yeah.
There's a whole nother movie there.
I'm right now, maybe because I'm just super into him in this scene, but Mutt might be a good candidate in a weird way. I haven't thought this through at all, but yeah. He flies off the handle sometimes. He's a little angry. He runs a little bit hot, but he's in touch with what he's feeling, and he says it, and people know where they stand with him and stuff. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I love him in this scene. We just talked about my least favorite line in the scene in the minute, like, let's not let the kids see mom and dad fight. Pause for applause. And then right on the heels of that, "You're not my dad, okay?" I love that. He like slaps him with that.
Yeah.
He's not having it, and it's awesome.
Well, then we get a real Raiders throwback here. With
the gag.
Yep, Marion
The
getting
gag.
the mouth gag. Yeah.
I do not apologize for liking seeing Marion tied up and gagged, because I saw Raiders at a formative age, and that's just how I understand.
Hey,
intimacy.
whatever floats your boat,
Yeah.
As long as it's all consensual.
As long as it's consensual.
Yeah, that's the key right there.
It is. I mean, we talked about, like, when she first showed up, like, we're like, oh, okay, she's got her hands on her hips. She's doing the thing Indiana Jones. It's like right out of Raiders. And now they're doing this, which is right out of Raiders. They're tying her up and gagging her and everything.
Right.
But I kind of like this. I like it because it's not the point of the scene. It's like something that's happening while she's screaming at Indiana Jones and still just continuing the argument they're having. And it's kind of great. She's awesome in this minute.
She was really mad when she was gagged in Raiders, too. She was mad at it. "Jones! What are you doing?"
Right. Why do people use gags like that? They don't seem to do anything. And she's yelling at him full throated right now this whole time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the purpose is.
I have a question for you here, Pete.
Okay.
Do vanishing fathers have a right to know if they have a son?
See, I feel like Indy has a really good point here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I still can't quite figure out why Marion doesn't tell him, other than it's 1938 or 1939.
I mean, she's been ditched by him twice now, and she has a kid, and she's met this other guy, and I don't know. I feel like I'm not saying she did the right thing or whose side I'm on, because I really don't know, but I totally get her being like, I could tell Indy, but then he's going to be in my life, and he's going to be in my kid's life now, and he's not the kind of guy who hangs around. He's going to break my heart again and my son's heart, probably. Maybe I just don't touch this.
So what if that vanishing father writes a year later?
Too
late.
He walked into her bar like 15 years later, or whatever it was. In Raiders, not 15. It's like 10.
I'm dying to know what the actual answer is, Deb.
Yeah.
Deb has the actual answer.
I have a comment. I don't have any answers, but I would say that from a therapy perspective, I think in that era you wouldn't have had kids conceived with sperm donors, but like if a kid was adopted or the mailman's kid or something, the going practice was like, if the kid looks like they could be ours, let's just not say anything because of all the shame and everything.
Right.
But now we know from research and people, like donor conceived kids that have grown up, and we've had the chance to like talk to lots of kids about how they feel, that like that is a really bad strategy. That the kids have a deep sense almost always that something is off, with their identity, something is wrong with them. And so now what parents are, and I actually have 3 adopted kids in my family. My sister has 3 adopted kids from foster care. So I watched her explain from. So it's like you tell the truth at an age appropriate level as soon as you could possibly start talking about it. Now,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So the kid has it because it's an interesting therapy thing. I don't know how to justify it scientifically, but it's like people can often feel distressed. It's like they know that their narrative isn't coherent. They know that something's missing, and they're in distress about it. And so you would see a lot of kids in like suffering with addiction and depression. And then they find out, right, my dad is someone else, or, anyway, you get the point what I'm saying. But back then she would have been like, the bio dad is someone else. This could be really shameful.
I'm having a kid out of wedlock in 1939.
Yeah. Which she did, I guess. I mean, she had the kid and then met Colin Williams. Started dating him.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, okay. So she has a 3-month-old and starts dating Colin Williams. Wow. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then
I feel like it would have been easier around that time too, though, with the war, and like people didn't ask questions like who.
So when Colin Williams dies, I guess in the war, that's when Ox takes over ish.
Yeah, he's sort of a father figure to Mutt after that, I guess. Although it sounds like he was already a friend of the family and stuff. He's probably hanging out with Colin and Marion. Has lots of time to spend with Mutt because he's not writing to Indy.
Wait.
Yes.
Is Ox not writing to her, or is Marion not writing to him?
Ox didn't talk to him either. Didn't you ever wonder why Ox stopped talking to you? He was totally.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking about writing back to the letter, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Deb, you said Indy. People usually, if they have a father that they weren't able to connect with, they one of the ways they go is they need a lot of me time, and that's like every one of these movies. Not Last Crusade, but it's like Indy and his me time.
Yeah. Well, I think I keep talking about movie 5 or whatever, but I think it would be really interesting. I mean, maybe narratively it wouldn't make sense, but it's like, what would this guy be like if he actually was beholden to someone or was close to someone? Because the romantic, my understanding is the romantic relationships before the ladies are hot and not long for this world, for his world, right? Like they're hot, maybe they're smart, but predominantly they're hot, right? Like he's not I don't know. He's not very interdependent with very many people. Mm-hmm. And I think, I wonder if he were a real person, if he would actually, like his life looks so fun, but I wonder if he would actually be suffering a lot in his isolation as he got older. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we see a little bit of that in the beginning of this one with Dean Charlie. They talk about, and it's maybe Indy had, what was her name?
Deirdre.
Deirdre, yeah. If he had been with the Deirdre or recognized the Deirdre when they showed up, something like that. He just kind of steamrolled with his me time. Toot toot.
Sorry, guys, me time.
Yeah.
Pete, I have a question for you. Finish this sentence. Marion says, "By then Mutt was born and I was
married."
Well, hold up. Or is it Mary? I listened.
That's Mary's origin story.
Yeah.
Mutt thinks her name's Mary.
Yeah. That's what,
Call me Mary.
By then, Mutt was born and she had changed her name.
She's had a complete break with her past.
It's like this dramatic scene where she gets one final letter from Indiana Jones and she rips it in half. I am now Mary.
I do think the way this minute ends, though, when Indy says, "Why are you bothering me to tell me now?" It was just, I thought we were going to die. That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's our Marion.
Fantastic.
I love her. The Marion watch is off the charts. She's doing great. And the Mutt watch too. Damn it. I keep saying it. Mutt's great in this. He's yelling. He's like, oh, whatever happened to a, motorcycle, whatever, fixing motorcycles. Don't tell people not to do what you want to do, whatever. He's like, that's before you were before I was your father. And they cut to like the other side of Mutt's head. And he's already yelling, you're not my father. He just keeps yelling that at him. And it's really awesome. The scene is cut really well. And everybody's doing an awesome job, except for that one line. And I'm God help me, I'm into this movie right now. What am I going to do? I feel like I did remember in Fake Mexico when Mutt and Indy were doing that walk and talk through Fake Mexico. And I was like, if you showed me this scene and I knew nothing about this movie, there's like a fourth Indiana Jones movie, I'd be like, oh, that looks kind of cool. I'm into that. That looks like Indiana Jones, an older Indiana Jones talking to a younger guy. This is cool. And I kind of had that feeling about this scene too. Like, oh my God, it's Marion Ravenwood. She's still yelling at Indy and he's yelling at her. And there's that kid from before. And I'm into this. I want to see this movie.
Well, all right. I guess that, hey.
That was a transition.
That was a transition. This just in for... That was awful. This just in from Professor Christy Porter. Coming in over the wire.
I think it's Mary Porter.
Yeah, Professor Mary Porter. It is actually. Could
it's like
you
the pause when you read them.
Well, I'm reading. There's actually two questions.
No boy.
Could you be proud of Mutt?
Sure,
yeah, of course.
Well, okay, let me go to the next question.
All
that
right.
seems great.
We're knocking these out.
Yeah.
All right. Would Indy have punished Mutt if Mutt got drunk and Indy would have made him go to his caddy job the next day anyway?
What?
Would he have been that type of dad? Indy?
That if he had gotten drunk, he would have made him go to his caddy job? Is that what you said?
Yeah, he would have made Mutt go to his caddy job the next day anyway.
Yes. I mean, honestly, yes.
Yes, honestly,
I don't quite get the question, but yes. 100%. Anyone else?
No?
I agree. Even if he was just like trying on his dad boots and being like, I'm going to do some dad stuff.
Right.
Like I say
You're
no
grounded.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, Mutt, there's nothing but pride to feel over Mutt. Like he's self-assured. He's he's living a happy life. He's following his dreams.
I don't know. He's a little hard to swallow here and there.
Is he a teenager or is he 18? Like, how old is he supposed to be?
I think he's like 23 or something.
No, not quite that. I mean, he's
20.
like 20 maybe 20. I would think.
Yeah, so there's really no disciplinary action to be taken, I think, over anything, right? He's like grown.
Oh, yeah. I can't make you rake the yard. You're an adult. Oh, well. Well, by God, that was minute 74. Look at that. Deb, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
This is
You
wonderful.
made this,
Thank you.
This bitter, angry family squabble enjoyable and understandable.
What is the one thing you'd say to Indiana Jones if you had 12 seconds of therapy? He like opens the door and right before he runs out, you say,
"Shoes off."
I would say feel your feelings, dude. Use your words. I don't know.
Use your words.
Not the whip.
I might say like, have you thought about a career transition?
Oh,
wow.
As you're getting older.
Nice. Yeah.
Maybe you want to mentor the next generation. I guess
Yeah. Get to the library.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, Deb, thank you. Pete, Jerry, thank you guys. You all seem very nice. Everybody out there, thank you. And hey, if you're looking for other ways to participate in and enjoy this show, I recommend a little group on Facebook called Indiana Jones Minute and the Listeners Crusade, where listeners just like you are weighing in with their thoughts about the show, about the movie, about other stuff, about various Mountain Dew flavors and other movies. And it's a good place to be. I recommend checking it out. And also check out minute 75 when we come back next week with that right here on the Indiana Jones Minute. You're not my dad.
I'm still trying to get over Deb being booked up.
Oh, yeah. Get in line, Pete.
I know.
I can't believe I couldn't remember my own website.
What does that say about you?
I know. It's DeborahHeltMFT.com. That's what it is. Now it all
okay.
comes back to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
There you go. You got it in there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I'm on the waiting list.